and we can move on to our next speaker at this point, and that will be Stefano De Sabbata. Right here, Stefano has worked with us for several years. Actually, he's an alumni from our very group, a computer scientist by background, and he rather describes himself as someone who deals with information, how machines handle information, how people handle information, what kind of information we produce and where does it go. So there is going to be a lot of information in this talk for us all to take away. Welcome, Stefano.
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me here. So I will start from a book. Over 60 years ago, one of my favorite authors, Ray Bradbury, published a collection of science fiction short stories entitled The Illustrated Man. This book starts when the narrator meets a man whose body is completely covered by tattoos, which animate overnight and illustrate the stories that the narrator reports in the book. As the narrator today, I would like to tell you a small set of short stories about the web and about the internet, and how I came to know that the access to information is far more unequal than when I thought before starting my research at the Oxford Internet Institute with my colleague Mark Graham. The starting point of each story, as in the book, will be an illustration, and I will do my best to make them come to life. Our first illustration today will tell us the story of the geographic spread of the internet, from North America and Europe to Asia, Oceania, South America, and finally the Middle East and North Africa. This map shows every country resized by the number of his internet users, and it has been published on The Atlantic a couple of weeks ago. The subtitle of the article was "Hello China," because actually one of the most striking features of the map is the size of the Chinese internet population. However, we hardly think of the internet as something Chinese, as we hardly see them around. They have their own internet. However, 1 in 5 internet users nowadays is Chinese, and Asia accounts for about half of the entire internet population. And this amount, this percentage was still growing, whereas in Europe, for instance, we are almost at the saturation point, and the number of new European internet users in the future will be little compared to the new Asian ones. The situation instead is a bit divided in Africa, where the North has seen a large growth over the last years, whereas in most sub-Saharan African countries, the internet penetration is still about 10% and has seen a little growth in the last years. This is due to many factors, but one of the most important ones is the cost of internet connection. This simple map shows us how, well, here in Europe, it's pretty cheap to get an internet connection. In most sub-Saharan African countries, this broadband subscription can cost over half of an average income, and in some countries, even over 100% of an average income. Our third illustration may look like an old map, but I actually did it a couple of months ago, and I have to admit it's been a real fun. What it shows is the most visited website for each country, where Google is shown in red and Facebook is shown in blue. As you see, these two websites cover most of the world, and only in Asia some local competitors are able to overcome these two American giants, like for instance Baidu in China. As you think about it, there is no Swiss search engine that can compete with Google in Switzerland, or Italian social network in Italy that can compete with Facebook. This map also shows us how we use the internet mainly for search for information, to share information. These are the key features of the internet. If you want to know something more about Albert Einstein, you may go to his Wikipedia page and read about him. If you're interested to organize a vacation for your holiday, you might turn to Wikivoyage, which is a project developed within the Wikipedia framework, which focuses on touristic information. That's a very interesting project to me, first of all because his content is inherently geographic, and second, as Wikipedia, it has been developed in different languages separately. This illustration shows 4 of the major sub-projects of Wikivoyage. And as you can see, for instance, English Wikivoyage provides a lot of content, and about 1/3 of his content is about the North America, and about another third is about Europe. And in fact, all languages provide most of their content about the countries where the language is widely spoken, with a few exceptions, such as German, the German Wikivoyage, which provide quite a lot of content about Egypt. So that tells us that Wikivoyage is far from being a proportional representation of the world, is instead a subjective representation about what the contributors know better, which is their own countries and some touristic places. The web is also more and more a place where we work, not only through emails or shared documents, but also through new type of platform that offer us the opportunity to coordinate a large amount of works in small tasks which can be distributed all over the web, completing and sent back. This is referred to as microwork. Our 5th illustration shows one of this platform, and actually his distribution over space and over time. Each line represents a country, and each bubble of the line represents the average amount of workers active during a given hour of the week. As you can see, although this particular platform collects workers from all over the world, all continents, and most time zones, the actual big part of the work is actually performed in Asia and and East Europe. In particular interesting is the working pattern we observe in the Philippines. While in most countries there is a clear difference between night and day concerning the amount of active workers, in the Philippines this difference is really little, and we even see an increase in the amount of active workers during the late evening hours local time, which correspond to the late European working hours and early American working hours. So whether these platforms are a useful employment opportunity for the 2.5 billion users of the web, whether they are a new way to exploit the poorest of the world, is still to be studied and understood. I would like to conclude my talk with this very geeky map, which shows us the number of domain names per country. But I won't go in any more detail about this map, as you probably already grasp what I'm going to say. There is a large north, a growing east, and a neglected south. This is the linking pattern of all the images I've shown you today. And this is the recurring theme of these maps, as the conflict between technology and the human psyche is the recurring theme in the stories narrated by the tattoos of the illustrated man. While I was reading that book, I frequently found myself thinking that the story was telling me something about the human nature that I already knew, but I've never looked at it in that way, from that perspective, and all of the same time. In the same way, studying the internet with geography in mind, giving me the opportunity to look at it in a particular perspective and deepen my knowledge of the dynamics of the internet, and hopefully understanding it a bit better. Thank you very much.